in my opinion, is born into a unique time period. And every time period has its own special challenges. It's not for everybody. Um, the greatest acceptance commercially is in the traditional musics. John Coltrane made just a little money, not much money, but the musicians who came after Mr. Coltrane, who played, who have taken his language, they have been very successful, more so than Mr. Coltrane in many ways. And so, for your question, I think the traditional materials are totally relevant and even important. For instance, I am not of the viewpoint that we should simply throw away everything that exists in this time period and start over because of modernity or the saxophone is no longer relevant or anything like that. I feel that everything can be used to evolve. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a place for the voice, or what?
Yes, ma'am. I'm very interested in vocal music. I would say that in the area of vocal musics, up until, say, 5 years ago, I have felt that I did not have a good understanding of what to do with the vocal music. I am very interested in opera, but I'm also interested in song form musics. And I would like to hope that in the coming 5-10 years, that I can correct this imbalance in my own music and to have more music for vocalists. I would also like to hope that in the future, I feel the need to enter into the world of women and to have more experiences with the creative women who are more and more reasserting a different vibration in this time period. And so for your question, no, I do not have as much vocal music as I should have. It's only been within the last 10 or 15 years where I began to notice how little I had, how much more I have to learn about this. And I still have much more to learn, but I'm interested in vocal music very much. Yes, sir.
Şimdi kendisine dağıttığı kağıtta bu 12 tane arılarına cümle formları, yani belli cümle formları. Peki bu kendisinin müziğini oluştururken bu cümle formlarının bir temeli, yoksa notaların bir renk olarak da şeyini kullanıyor mu? Yani o notaların renk olarak şeyi veya bu cümle hangisini daha tercih ediyorsunuz?
He asks if the 12 sub-identity formings of your music has, as far as he understood, represented like sentences. And in your music, do you use the notes, the colors of the notes, or do you use only the sub-identity formings?
Good question, sir. I try with my constructs to it's going to come, I don't know how to respond. Let me translate this into color first. 12 colors in pots. This is like the material. What to do? Well, I look for an idea. Or I'm walking down the street and I hear an idea. Or I have no idea, so I start with no idea and I write no idea. I try to take my system and use it in different ways. But could you ask the gentleman to elaborate a little more on it? as far as what he would like, or what is he focusing on? I'm not
Actually, I
quite
would
sure.
like to ask you, what you mean with these 12 things? What I understand is sentences, like sentences. You are constructing your compositions with these segments or fragments of music. But let me ask you this question in that way. If you would like to improvise, will you start according to a color of a note or to a construction of a sentence? If you like to express yourself, what will be your starting point? Will it be to create the sentence and to effect an impression on this point, or just hitting one note and showing a color? What will be your idea of it for that?
For me, it would depend upon the moment. It would depend upon so many different variables. For instance, whenever I do a solo concert, I always have at least one composition where I don't know what's going to happen. That I not even from any idea, I call it going fishing. I go fishing. Sometimes, maybe I will start from something that's known. Oh, if I'm feeling really strong, okay, maybe today I will try something new. Maybe start from that sound. Or if I'm feeling very weak, I can't do that. I will start from what I know and work with that. I do not believe in consistent inspiration. That is, it's very rare when you're really inspired and everything happens and it's totally right. For the bad nights, that's when the science comes in. You're playing and you no ideas, or you're composing and you can't figure out what to do. Then I go to science and the idea. Well, I'm working with this, I'm working with this. This should translate here. How does this translate into the moment in terms of what's happening? It's a kind of nebulous thing that we're talking about. We're talking about, for me, the most important thing in playing music is I want to be honest. I want to play what my story is. And so whatever that is, that puts a limit on you. Because I'm not interested in just anything unless sometimes I'm interested to see what'll happen. And so it could be a note, start off with a note with a particular feeling, or a note in a particular register, or it could be some structure that has the same note written.
Have you studied yourself, as you were some time ago, to make a statement about your feelings related to your sentences? I mean, have you studied this occasion? Sometime you were sad and you studied, oh, this sentence is showing the real state of my feelings.
I have tried not to approach it quite like that, although I guess in some ways that must be true. At this point in my work, I have something like 80 compositions for the solo saxophone in the system. And each of the compositions, well, were created in different ways, but I try to find ideas and materials that could express general zones of ideas, but the feeling can change anytime. I never, for instance, many of my critics say, Braxton never talks about feeling. Braxton never talks about feeling. I never talk about feeling because the feeling changes every day. as a composer, my hope is to create a context where, for the experiencing musician, he or she, however they're feeling, can move through it. I can, for instance, and this is it's such a nebulous, it's like, when are you happy, when are you sad? How are the elements reflecting your feelings? Well, for instance, I have been fortunate to document 2 and 3 different versions of the same composition, where it's possible to experience the difference of a particular performance. Sometimes, Paul Desmond, the alto saxophonist with the Dave Brubeck Quartet, I feel expressed it very beautifully. Mr. Desmond said one day he had a concert, he was playing with Mr. Brubeck, and he was playing the saxophone, and he says, everything was right, everything was like really working beautifully, everything was right. At the end of the concert, someone came up and said, too bad, Paul, a bad day. Anybody can have a bad day. And then, then the next day, he's playing, and the reed is giving him problems, and the horn's not working good. And when the concert finished, the guy came up to me and said, Paul, you've never sounded better. For me, this story talks of the complexity of the aesthetic. And what I try to do in my music is to, well, first have a reservoir of material. And if I'm feeling whatever, then I use this composition. Or if I don't find what I have, anything that matches my feeling, then maybe I might just try something. If that doesn't work, maybe I'll use somebody else's music. It's a kind of, I don't know how to really answer your question, because I make a separation between process and feeling, with the understanding being that the feeling can change and the processes can be used to serve the person who has the feelings. Question? Yes, sir.
While you're creating the music, where should the composers place in making music? Where should the composers work start and finish?
I'm not. Could you say that again? I'm sorry, sir.
While you're creating the music, making the music, and use computers maybe, where should that computers work start and finish? I mean, computers are like digital things, so you can just make a very synthesized sound of it. So use just computers for making all the instruments together to see what is it, and what does it sound like, and after that you use acoustic instruments or what? Understand what I mean?
I'm not sure if I understand you, but I think what you're describing is correct for me, in the sense that I try to look for different ways to stay interested in my own music. And